Hello marketing friends, it's Andrew Walton, and in this video we are going to look at how to improve conversion on districtwebdesign.com. So interestingly enough, in this video we are going to be talking more about design than copy, a little bit of a departure from my usual tack, but there you have it. So let's get started. So the first thing that I would note about this page is the use of space, and that is there's a lot of different horizontal, I guess you could say, compartments on this page above the fold and above where the main offer is, which is here and your main call to action. So I would try to condense this section because right now you basically have four horizontal iPaths here. One, two with only the social media buttons, three your main nav bar, and four where you have your actual headline. So this sort of hello bar type section at the top is a pretty good idea. I would definitely keep it, test it, check your heat mapping software to see if people are looking at this and interacting with it. If you don't have heat mapping software, hotjar.com will let you you can install that for free. You can record 3 different pages, so you can actually test and see, are people paying attention to this at the top of your page here. If not, you may want to try a different call to action, different text, but in principle this looks like it's okay. The social media icons should probably be moved into this nav bar here, maybe over off to the side. One thing that needs to happen here is the logo is very small. You can't really see captivate, convince, and convert. So I would make this either bigger or just remove the tagline, which is not readable in this instance. Put this a little higher up. You can, if you want, put it farther over to the left. I see that you've designed this so you're sort of, there's an invisible line going down this part of the page. So that's okay, you can keep that, and then same with down the other side here. This invisible line, but getting the social media icons either into this nav bar or even testing without the social media icons would probably improve the way this top section looks. And again, you can check your heat mapping software to see, are people actually interacting with these? So here in the nav bar, I would probably look at maybe condensing this or rewording the menu items a bit. It's really it's a little bit too much about you and not quite enough about what the individual is going to get. So it's not bad, but I think there's, and I know you're trying to sort of stand out and be different than the sort of cliche overused, yeah, you know, it's home, it's about, it's contact, etc. But you can also economize space by making this just blog and making this, well, our work portfolio will probably take up the same amount of space, but something like, okay, we have our expertise and our work. Is there some way to combine these two things? Looking at the menu item, our expertise, I'm not really sure what that is going to be. Now if I hover over it, I see, okay, there are all these things, but maybe there's a way to combine these to save the space, make it actually easier for someone looking at this menu to choose an option, and also if you save the space, then you have a spot for these social media icons without blowing up, well, without totally revamping this navbar, without moving this over, for example. The search bar, let's see, does this actually go anywhere? Okay, just to let you know that this, even though you see it on a lot of websites, this is only useful if you have a sufficient volume of content that people will actually, it's highly likely that your visitors will find the content they're looking for by using this. On most websites, like say if you have less than several hundred articles, this is probably going to lead anyone doing a search not to the place that they're looking for. So I'd be very careful about using this. To be honest, not many people will probably interact with it anyway, but it is something to keep in mind. You don't want to, even if it's part of it 1% of the visitors that you get that interact with this, you don't want to be sending any users off to a page where they're not getting the result that they're looking for. So if you do have a ton of content, if you have several hundred articles, you can leave this, you can test it, and again, it's something you can look at with your heat mapping software. Are people interacting with this? If so, how are they interacting? But in general, the search bar is not the most productive thing you can have. One thing I do like actually about what you did with this that most people don't do is the search bar itself is not visible until you click on here. A lot of people will waste space up in the nav bar, say in this section, having an entire search bar. It doesn't usually work. Anyway, let's move on. So looking at the headline, it's okay. The good thing about it is that it's very specific and you chose one thing. You could actually make it more specific by talking about, say, an actual quantity or something like that. A headline should be all, the first letter of each word should be capitalized. That's standard practice for headlines. It looks a little bit better, more professional. I would probably try this headline. If you want to keep it in italics, you can, but I would make it a bigger font, make it stand out. Right now it's about the same size as your navbar and as this headline here. So I would really make this, hard to say, maybe not double the size, but make it significantly bigger. It is your main headline. It should be the focal point of this entire page. So I would say make that happen. And really I would look at, so lead generation, that's a really good primary benefit, but you can look at making this headline a little more interesting, a little more strong. The idea is right. The idea is definitely right. But I would write, honestly, so here's what I do when I'm writing headlines, is I will write literally anywhere from 20 to 50 headlines depending on how much time I have, and then I will choose the top couple of them. You can either go with your gut instinct and put one on here and see how it performs, or if you have a little bit of ad budget, you can actually test all of your headlines as the headlines of a Facebook ad and see which one garners the most clicks, and that's the one that you can use as your headline here. Really effective way to really cheaply test to see if your headline is compelling enough. For example, if you're going to say generate more qualified leads guaranteed as a Facebook headline, that's probably going to be okay. It's not bad, it's not world class, but I could see it working, especially with the right context around it. But in any case, I would definitely write a bunch of other variants of this and see if you can come up with something that's even more compelling. I'd say this is probably like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. It's better than a lot, actually. Something about the simplicity I actually like. A lot of headlines try to be too hypey and too boastful, and this is simple and straight to the point, which is actually, I think, pretty good in this niche. But yeah, there's another level we can get it to. Anyway, starting to ramble about the headline, so let's keep moving on. So in this case, let's take a look at the headline again. If you're going to use this sort of basic headline with not a lot of detail, then you sort of have to follow up in this section to expand on the main benefit that you've given here. So we help you grow your business is a rather, it's pretty basic. That doesn't mean it's bad. It can work. But I would again look at some other benefits that you can sort of add on top of this. Like if you're talking about generating leads, we're already talking about growing your business. So what do leads actually mean to the client? There's going to be another level, and you can think both in terms of the gain that the individual is going to have, the business owner, and the pain that they're going to avoid. So you can talk about them stop being stuck, or about revenue, something more specific than simple growth, or you can change the headline. You have two options here because both of these statements are very general. more qualified leads and grow your business, you need something that's more specific and something that goes deeper. So it's really up to you which one you choose. I understand with this image, so you have this this graph here, and so I would say first of all is you need to make these fonts bigger, so this is really easy to read. And one difficulty actually with this is the white does blend in a little bit to the background here. So it's not too bad, but the "we" gets lost a little bit. So if you can make just all the text here stand out a little bit more, it will improve readability. So with this, again, with this chart that you have, this headline makes sense, but the headline, this headline in conjunction with your main headline, again, something has to go into more detail, because again, they're both a little too basic on their own. This I honestly just find distracting. It's distracting me from everything that's going on up here and up here, and that can be a good thing. In this case, I don't think it's a good thing. It would be awesome actually to have not just heat mapping software, but actually eye tracking software to see how this affects someone reading this. Like if they regenerate more, then pop down and finish reading and something like that. But that may not be feasible at this stage, but I would probably consider not having the bouncing loop of 4 different leads, prospects, etc. And one of the reasons for that, actually, in this case, is also going to be that you're not really saying anything new here. You have generate more leads, grow your business. So this, if you're going to have text here, again, I would choose a different benefit, a different pain point, something else that's different and interesting and valuable, and it persuades them to click on this button here and actually request the strategy call. Okay, so let's look at this. So this headline here should be more benefit oriented and less about what you are and who you are. And actually here you're running into probably a little bit of a positioning problem, because someone landing on the page, they're trying to figure out who you are and what you do. They're trying to classify you in their head. And web design and content marketing makes your business in the prospect's mind almost certainly rather fuzzy, because most people who are looking at any sort of marketing, online marketing stuff, they're going to have a category for web design and a different category for content. And you can't really fit into both, unfortunately. For example, Neil Patel, he has QuickSprout, which is based more on SEO, and he has Neil Patel, which is neilpatel.com, which is more for content marketing. Even though these two topics are intimately related, he's broken those up. So these topics that are less closely related, web design and content marketing, I would choose the one that the majority of your prospects want most. Now, at some other point in the page, you can mention how your services can involve both of these things, but the actual problem that you're solving and the category that you're filling should probably be one or the other. Again, it's all about creating a clear image of who you are and what you do in the prospect's mind. So even though this logically it makes sense, we can all understand this sort of emotionally and especially on a subconscious level, the ability for the person to categorize you and say, okay, this is who they are, and then answer the question, is this the right business to solve my problem? If they can't put you in any category, then automatically the answer is no. So this seems very innocuous, very innocent, but it's actually very, very important. It might be one of the most important things on this page, actually. Anyway, so let's look at the text here. So one thing that will improve readability here is to left align this. Centered text is great for headlines. That's totally fine. But this sort of body text, this basically needs to be left aligned. It's very fatiguing to read centered text, actually. People will get lazy and just sort of give up on it. And the other thing that you'll want to do here is split this up at some point and make it either 2, maybe even 3 paragraphs. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines is too much. Tests have shown you probably want 3 to 4 lines for your paragraphs. In terms of the copy, it's okay. It's typical copy for this type of industry. It's certainly not bad. You have pretty good benefits. It makes a lot of sense. It's just there's a whole other level that you can go to, and the way that I would do that is not just talk about even what you do and the benefit of it, but tell more of a story, sort of humanize the company a little bit, and you can really get to the level where you're talking, again, not to features and benefits, but you're actually talking to the customer's core values. And you can do that with a story that depicts the situation that they're in, maybe how your company solves that particular problem, or how you had that problem and you solved it, or your company had that problem and solved it. But having it be more conversational and story-based, it goes to a deeper level of bonding. So by working on things like your core story and really having a good idea of what the actual experience of the customer is, of the visitor, before they ever landed on your site, can be really valuable at making this small bit of text extremely compelling. So of course you don't have pages and pages to tell your whole story, right? But having some of those elements will take this from pretty good, to excellent or world class. So that's what I would do there, especially because as you have some of these elements in here actually repeated in this section, it will also make sense from the perspective of you're not repeating yourself and you're adding some extra compelling elements to the copy here. So let's take a look at this image now. So this is cool. It's the sort of how we do it element, and I really like the 3 C's. That is, you can't really be more powerful than having 3 C's. 3 is basically the best number you can choose psychologically for this sort of thing, and the letter C, the hard C, K, also sort of the psychologically most powerful single sound that you can choose, at least for native English speakers, it seems. So that is really awesome. I would improve the readability here. Make these bigger. This is a little bit too small. You can increase this at least a couple points. And if you have to push this bottom line down a little bit in order to fit it all in, that's totally fine. I would definitely do that. In terms of the copy, let's see. Launch. Okay. Influence visitors, new content. So here, I would probably be more specific about the fact that you are generating leads. You have this here in between, but influence visitors and convince, these are not your core benefits. These are not the things that your visitor wants. So this is all good. This is sort of the what and the how, but you need to go deeper with the benefit in this. Driving action and ongoing relationships that delight and retain your customers and brand advocates. So this is, it almost feels like you're missing a step here. This is, again, it's good stuff. It's all right, but we probably want to talk about sales before we talk about retaining customers and getting brand advocates. So I would actually probably work that into the copy. So I mean, we drive action. That is exactly what you're doing, but you might want to be more explicit about the fact that you are driving sales, because then talking about ongoing relationships makes sense. So that doesn't just mean that you're going to change this one word to sales. I would look at this entire little bit of text because you don't have much space to work with, you don't have many words to work with, and just refine this a little bit so it's really logical from step 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending how you want to look at this. And here, now these sorts of sections with your sort of smorgasbord of lots of options, there are a couple of schools of thought here, and mine would be keep this to just a few items. Generally, I mean, the temptation is to offer as much as possible, but I'm sure, as you'll find both in your analytics and if you're using heat mapping software, and if you just look at your own current list of leads and customers, is that most people only want a couple of these. Statistically, you're going to get most of your inquiries for probably generating more qualified leads, and what else? Well, I'm not going to guess. That wouldn't be responsible of me with this. I'm not sure what the other ones that you would want to include are, but your own data should tell you. And really this comes back to what we were talking about up here. The visitor is trying to classify you and understand who you are and what you do. And if you do everything, then there's no way for them to say, okay, when I need X done, I know to come to your website and to click on this button or this button and talk to you. They will find a competitor that does web design, and they are in the web design category in their mind, or the social media and content marketing, etc., etc. I actually have a friend, excellent marketer, who I believe that you actually know, but won't name names in this particular video anyway, who did exactly this, this sort of setup with their website for a number of years, and it was okay. I mean, they did reasonably well, but it was a struggle. And one of the reasons for that struggle was this person surveyed their existing client list when they decided to completely revamp their website, and they asked for feedback from their customers, and those customers said that one of the challenges for them coming on board was they weren't really sure what the company did, like what they would get from working with them, because there were too many options. And here it looks like you may suffer from the same problem in this case. So here's the thing: if you want to offer 6 different services, then I would say have a landing page for each specific service, and then drive people to each specific offer individually. And that way you are not encountering this problem where you have this fuzzy, okay, are they web design or are they content marketing? Well, this way you can control that conversation, and you can be email marketing, or you can be branding and identity. And of course, when you talk to a prospect on the phone, then of course you can, even if you're talking about generating leads with conversion optimized web design, you can talk about also managing their social media and content marketing if that's something they express that they're interested in and that they want help with. Once you're at that stage of the conversation, you can do that. You can expand the number of services you offer. But at this stage, you really have to offer just the most important. Ideally, if you really have targeted traffic and know your audience, you could offer one single thing. Now on your homepage, it's totally understandable that with people coming in from different traffic sources, you probably want to have more options, and 3 seems to be the sweet spot for that. So I'd pick the best 3 here and go with that for these. The graphics are good. I really like them. That's really nice. So I'm doing a lot of good things. Now here, things start to get a little bit more confusing, because we have this specific flow from up here. We're talking about lead generation. We're still talking about lead generation. This is not clearly lead generation, but you could quite easily make it so by changing the copy a little bit to express that that's what the main goal is. So even in the headline, if you're saying web design that converts, or content marketing that converts, or something like that, then again we're talking about lead generation or sales. This is all in that same sphere. So that's good. This can easily be that if you keep this and maybe something like this and something like this, just as an example. This is completely different, and that can be okay in some instances, but in this case I would scrap this because this is so far removed from everything else you've talked about that it's a little bit shocking, and for someone who is interested in your, say, lead generation offer, this is going to confuse them, and it's going to prevent them from taking action. Maybe they just need more information. They're scrolling down to look for that information, or because actually a lot of people will just keep scrolling until they reach the end of the page, even if they're interested in your offer, because they just want to know everything that's on the page. It's like, oh, I haven't completed this, I have to complete it. That might be the case too. Anyway, for people who want this offer, I would put this offer on a different page, but the number of people who are going to see this offer and want this, it's clearly not your main offer, right? Because otherwise you'd have it up here. So since it's not your main offer, I would keep focusing on your highest quality visitors, which are these visitors, presumably. Scrap this or put this on another page of your website. Overall, again, whatever you gain from here, you will lose up here multiple times over. Statistically, almost certainly. Again, you can use your heat mapping software to confirm this. You will probably see people looking at it because it is a call to action button, but focusing on one single offer will be the best overall for your business, for your website. So let's see here. Now this is, what is this? Is this an example? Yeah, okay, so this is a case study, and I didn't understand that. I actually had to pause the video and read through this to understand what exactly it was. So if at this point you're going to be showing your portfolio, which is a great idea, would highly recommend it. You might even put that, let's see, if you do all this here, actually no, it's probably in a good place here. You can conceivably could move this section up in some designs, but I think this is okay. So you need a headline that more clearly depicts the fact that this is not a case study, it's an example, it's part of your portfolio. This is okay. I like this, giving people the option to see more. One thing that a lot of websites will do is they will put sort of 3 across. It's something you can consider, but you don't have to. This setup in principle is okay. I would look at ways to break up this block of text, because again it's 3, 6, well, that's 9 lines of text, which is difficult to read online. So again, you want to follow the 3 to 4 line max rule, and that will help this section be more effective. This is actually, I think this is okay, because at this point now, if someone has gone through all of this different information, they've seen what you have to offer, and they're not interested in scheduling a call with you, then at this point, basically at the bottom of the page, this can make some sense to actually give them other offers to opt in and save the contact. However, I might move this down, because from this section here, this links to the portfolio and not to your strategy session. So I would actually want another section, like for example this section, linking to your strategy session before we go into alternate options. Now in this case it isn't exactly clear how, because just moving this up is going to be a little bit weird from a design standpoint. It's almost like you need more stuff. So in this case you might have your headline and then have a little bit more body copy here, and move this section above your downloads. And going down to the bottom of the page, this is just a little bit hard to read with the background. Yeah, like for example, if I'm here in the scroll, it's a little bit awkward. Going all the way down to the bottom, it's all right. ideally, so this, subscribing to the newsletter, you could swap that out for one of your ebooks here or checklists that will be much more compelling than just a newsletter offer. The blog role, I would eliminate this and have just one link to the blog. Tweets, this is almost certainly not particularly effective. You might have links to all your social media. You could move your social media icons in here, and then have just key links like your blog, your portfolio, and a couple more. And then in the middle have your newsletter, or you even move the newsletter over to the right. Actually, you could have the email and first name and subscribe button over on the right here. You could have an image of the offer in the middle, and you can have some relevant links on the left or something to that effect. But basically, this space it's just a lot of filler right now. So again, making this just the blog, and I see that you have these down here, so you could actually really clean this up and make it basically just a section for the opt-in. So you could actually move these conceivably down to the bottom. I'm not entirely sure if this map is necessary, and that will depend on whether your clients actually come to see you on location, assuming that this is in fact your location. If that's not the case, then I would just eliminate this. It looks kind of cool, but it's not really adding anything to the overall page. It's just kind of nice. It's a pretty nice map actually, but I'm not sure that it's necessary and it's really adding to the conversation you're having, the story you're telling, or the conversions that you're trying to get. So that is a lot of stuff. But if you do that, I imagine that you'll see a significant bump to your conversions. So I hope you found that helpful. Please, if you have any questions, leave them below this video. I would be happy to provide more feedback. And I will see you in another video soon.